Hi, my name is Barbara Symons, and I was encouraged by a friend to share the story of my shift. I spent most of my life in charismatic Christian fundamentalism when I found it a little bit too much to tolerate the threat of hell and to have fear be so much a part of my spiritual practice. I left my church in 1999 and began to explore. Then in 2005, my son, Christian, returned home from Iraq without a scratch, was traveling to Houston along with my husband and my youngest son, Keith. On their way to Houston, Chris decided to pass a vehicle and entered the oncoming lane, and for whatever reason never came out of that lane and impacted a pickup truck at 70 miles an hour. The pickup truck was also going 70 miles an hour, so the police report said the impact was 140 miles an hour, and Chris was not wearing a helmet. Lyle and Keith rode through that curtain of debris from the explosion of the impact. They even had to dodge the motorcycle chassis of Chris's bike being jettisoned back toward them after the impact. They found Chris on the side of the road. Lyle said that he was dead. There was no pulse, there was no respiration, there wasn't even any blood. He was missing his left arm, and his leg was split open from hip to ankle and was badly damaged. Lyle said that he went to Chris's side and gathered him up in his arms and told me that he made sounds. Lyle made sounds that were not human. He said he wailed, and that Chris, after a few minutes, came back to life. I met them at Houston's Memorial Hermann Hospital, and he was in surgery. And the doctor came out and said that Chris was in trouble, that he was bleeding out, that his blood pressure was 50/20, and that they had to take his leg if they were going to save his life. I said, of course, yes, and motioned for the doctor just to go back to Chris. And walking around the emergency waiting room, I was internally hysterical. And I had this feeling of leaving my body, like I was being pulled up and out of my body, and it felt like I was standing on a pillow. My feet were not firm beneath me, and I felt like I was above my body about 1.5 inches. And this voice spoke something to me. It said, "Barbara, you must remember that he chose this, and so did you." I felt the settling of myself back into my body and my feet firm beneath me, and I wondered what had just happened to me, but I had to argue with the voice, and I said, no, who would choose to live without an arm and a leg, and what mother would choose that for her child? No, I didn't choose this, I said. And the voice continued and said, yes. From before the foundation of the world, you were made known mysteries. You were made known things beyond your scope now. And you chose these things. And I said, but why? Why would someone choose this? And the voice reminded me and said that there is no human suffering in vain, that all suffering has value. Well, it spoke many things to me that day, things that have taken me months, if not years, to process. But I've come to understand this, that yes, we, as divinity, as our eternal self, chose our life's course and our pathways, and that there is no human suffering in vain. Chris is doing wonderfully well today. He runs a business with my youngest son, Keith, here in our city. He's missing his arm and his leg, but that doesn't stop him. Before he left for Iraq, he had a tattoo placed on his back was a huge angel that was holding a sword. And he told me, he said, Mom, you never have to worry about me when I'm over there because an angel's got my back. Well, years after the accident, Chris came over to the house one day and he was so excited and got me in the kitchen and pulled off his shirt and said, Mom, look at my tattoo, look at my tattoo. And I said, why, what? It looks like your tattoo, Chris. I don't know what I'm supposed to see. He said, Mom, look really careful. And I realized that the tattoo was actually missing a hand and a foot, that this angel was missing a hand and a foot. It had never been tattooed in place. I've written a book called Escaping Christianity and Finding Christ. In the book, I talk about how Jesus wasn't a Christian, that he wasn't even a good Jew, but that there was a pattern set for us in this story of divinity penetrating the human frame. We are the Virgin Mary. Divinity has penetrated our biology for the first time and has found a resting place within our flesh and blood, within the manger of our flesh and blood. So many things came alive to me during this horribly traumatic time, but brought our whole family to a place of awakening, to understand who we are and why we're here. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I thank you for your time. Goodbye.